Going for about I have to come up and click that little got it sign. That's the first time I've had to do that. Usually people are doing it when I hit record.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So do we have about 20 minutes, I believe, that we're
Yep, about 20, 25. It's up to you.
Okay, perfect. All right. Well, hello, everybody. My name is Stephanie Fowler, and we are recording this so that hopefully you'll be able to watch it at your leisure when it's more convenient for you. In fact, I would encourage you to maybe do this more than once. So if you enjoy it and it provides you a nice kind of a wind down stretch at the end of the day, especially if you've had a long, hectic one, then this is a great stretch for you. We will be incorporating a little bit of breath work. We'll be incorporating some nice dynamic stretching, meaning that we'll kind of move around as we stretch. We're going to do some stationary stretching, and then we'll relax a little bit, and I'll lead us through a little bit of a guided meditation, again with some breath work involved. So I am a certified yoga teacher. I have 500 hours of training with yoga. We call that a 500 hour. I'm a registered yoga teacher with the Yoga Alliance. I also have a certificate in women's wellness coaching. And I'm also a retired teacher of 30 years in the state of Georgia. You might hear a little accent here and there. So if you happen to have some blocks handy, if you have 2 of them, that's great. If you don't have them at all, totally fine. If you are watching this on recording, you're more than welcome to pause and go gather up a few things, such as sometimes a couple of books, especially if you like to read at night, you might have a couple of books on your nightstand, then maybe 2 or 3 books will suffice and serve as what you would need for a block. Also, if you happen to have a strap handy, a yoga strap is great. However, if you'll notice, this kind of looks like it might be something you would have on a bathrobe. So if you happen to have a bathrobe tie, then that would be really nice to use as well. So we may end up using that. We'll kind of see how it kind of fits into our grand scheme of things. And then finally, I would love for you to have a blanket. So again, since you'll most likely be watching this on the recording, that gives you the perfect chance to hit pause and go grab a blanket. It does not have to be the style, as long as it's one that when you fold it up, it provides some thickness. I know I've got a couple of the blankets, that I've gotten from the bin at Walmart that are like $3, during Christmas time, and they are so thin and they would never be this thick. So if you have a blanket that's got a little bit more heft to it, that's what we're looking for. Now you'll notice I have my blanket underneath me. So if you want to fold up your blanket, you don't have to have one, but if you want to try this out, sit on the floor without your blanket just for a moment. I'll give you some time to try that out. And then sit on the floor with the blanket underneath your hips, just at the edge of your hips. And what I like about that is when you've been working all day, you've probably been walking around, we're very linear when we walk, right? And if you were sitting, you're just sitting like this and your legs are scrunched up and everything, if you're in a chair. So that's linear too. Plus you're contracting your muscle here that likes to be stretched out when you walk. So sometimes you end up having some stiffness or some tightness in your hips. So it's really nice when you're on a blanket because it lifts up your hips about 2 inches, which is great because it lets your hips be a little bit more level with your knees. And that's what we like. It makes us feel a lot better. So I am going to kind of push my camera out just a little bit more. Sorry about that. Just want to make sure you can see me just a little bit better. Awesome. All right. So we are situated. We're on the floor, blanket or no blanket. And we're just going to settle in. So as we are settling in, go ahead and lean over to the right, and your left hip will lift up, and with your left hand just kind of pull out your flesh or your muscle. Sitting back down, do the same on the other side. And what's happening here is Even on my blanket, I feel my sitting bones at the bottom of my hip bone, the pelvic floor bone area. I feel that a little bit more grounded in, even on a blanket. So if you're not on a blanket, you probably really feel it. And just do a little shoulder roll, maybe alternate or do them both at the same time, doesn't matter. And then one more thing as we are settling in, I'd like for you to twist over toward the right. Let your left hand straighten out and kind of press it into your leg. Maybe your fingers of your right hand can be pressing into your outer top of your thigh here on the right leg, and just gently twist. So we're not trying to torque too much. We're not trying to do a 360. We're just gently stretching, looking over our shoulder. Good. Coming back to center. Let's take that to the other side. So this time we're straightening out the other arm, pressing the forearm into your leg, fingertips on the other leg, and we're just gently twisting. Wonderful. Ooh, come back to center. And then let your hands be however you want them to be. Maybe they're layered up in your lap. Maybe you've got your palms at the top of your legs with your fingers curling around your kneecaps. And maybe you might want to just have your palms facing upward. Maybe even that classic, index finger and thumb touching, that little hand seal that you see a lot of people do when they're sitting and just kind of breathing and focusing on their breath. So whatever you want to do there, totally fine. Maybe start casting a little bit of a soft gaze toward the floor. If you would like, and if you feel comfortable, go ahead and just allow your eyelids to close all the way. Maybe your chin is level or maybe slightly dipped down. And then I'd like for you to imagine a wall directly behind you. Just picture a wall right there. And I'd like for you to let your shoulder blades press up against it. So you might notice that you're actually sitting up a little bit straighter by doing that. Wonderful. So we're going to take a collective inhale together, meaning that we are going to press any air that might be in our lungs out right now. And then let's take a nice deep inhale together. And if you would like, open your mouth and sigh out your breath. Chin dipping down towards your chest. And let's do that one more time. Nice big inhale. Feeling your ribs expanding. And again, sigh it out if you'd like. Wonderful. So just take one more breath on your own, as deep as you would like, or maybe just a little bit deeper than your normal pattern of breathing. Excellent. And then I'd like for you to let your eyes flutter back open if they were closed or if they were halfway lidded. Hands coming down on either side of your hips. Taking a nice big inhale. Rotating your elbows, palms facing each other. And then exhale right back down. Good. This is called a sun breath. It's kind of like your arms are rays of the sun. Let's do that again. We'll do it a couple of times. So you're more than welcome to look up at your fingertips, but sometimes your cervical part of your spine right there in the neck doesn't always feel good when you tilt your chin upward. So you can totally maintain a nice neutral position if you would like. Awesome. All right. So next inhale, let's take our arms forward. So they're sliding past the legs. You'll notice you've got more of a V shape with your hands instead of them being straight up like they were earlier. And then palms down, exhale down. Fold your upper body forward, letting your hands glide past your hips. And so they're up in the air behind you. You can just kind of wave them like you just don't care if you want. Inhale back up. Wonderful. Oh my goodness, that feels so good. And we are exhaling out. We'll do this one more time. I love the idea of doing things in threes. So we are inhaling up one more time. Wonderful. And then exhale out just like we have been doing. Hands going past your hips up in the air. Awesome. Inhale them forward. So they're still up in the air. They're just coming forward, palms facing down. And then place them on the exhale on the floor right in front of you. So my hands are a little bit off camera, but this is where my fingertips are right on, right in front of my shins, like this. So what we're doing is we're extending. We're going to slide out. So go ahead and slide your fingers out as far as you can. And then I'd like for you to take a nice big inhale here, keeping your neck nice and neutral so you are looking down at the floor, probably between your elbow area. Exhale out. And I love for us to pay attention to our bodies. So as you inhale again, nice and deep, see if you notice your arms kind of moving outward from the shoulder joint. That's our air coming in and pressing our arms outward. It's so wonderful just to pay attention to our body. All right, so see on the next exhale if you can get the fingers to walk even just one more little time away from you, a little bit further. Really feeling that stretch underneath your armpits, probably feeling some low back, some glute work, probably the outer hips on both hips, getting a nice good stretch here. Wonderful. All right, so next inhale, lift your hands up and we're walking them over to the right side, kind of diagonally right in front of the knee. So your hands are tracking right in front of your knee here. So the right hand is a little bit further out than the left, just because of the way we're over on this side. And we're just taking maybe 2 big breaths here. We are really stretching the side body. Over on the left, we're also stretching out the left hip. Feels super good. Nice big breath. See if you can feel a little bit of a stretch on the left mid back. And then let's go ahead, next inhale, walking our hands over. You probably already know this, we're going to the other side. Wonderful. So sometimes you might notice that you feel the exact same, kind of range of stretching on both sides. Sometimes you might feel one side more than the other. It all depends. Sometimes that changes daily. Sometimes it's just always going to be that way. One more big, huge breath. And then we're coming back to center on your next inhale. So just take your time walking your hands towards your body. Oh my gosh, that feels good. So we are making our way to tabletop position. If you are like me and you happen to have a blanket, we're just going to come off of it. However, if you happen to have a little bit of a tender knee or knees, then definitely feel free to fold up your mat if you've got one to give your knees a little bit more cushion, or maybe you can actually unfold that blanket once or twice so that you can have some cushion underneath your knees. Always protect yourself. Listen to your body. The same thing with your wrist. So just be really mindful of that. All right, so we are in tabletop position. That simply means that we have our wrist underneath our shoulders. We have our knees underneath our hips to kind of get a feel for that. You can, kind of quote unquote eyeball that and see that you're doing that. You've got your fingers spread nice and wide, so they're nice and active, and just play around with this a little bit. Press your fingertips into the mat. You might notice a little bit of discoloration in the nail bed. You might notice also that your knuckles are coming up. You've got a little space of air underneath. And maybe even in the center of your palm, you might feel a little bit of a lift there as well. Just a little mindfulness with our body. So we are going to take a cat-cow breath. This is one that is pretty common with yoga. I'm just going to tuck my shirt in just a little bit so maybe you can see my belly dip down on the inhale a little bit better. So we are inhaling and dipping the body down. Shoulder blades might be pressing together. And then as we exhale, start to round your back and tuck your chin and tailbone toward each other, really pressing into the mat. And then coming back into that inhale, dropping your belly. You might notice your tailbone kind of going up in the air a little bit. Your chin too, if that feels good for your neck. And then exhale, round through the back. We're taking that one more time. You know the power of 3. So inhale, drop your belly. And then exhale, round out. Perfect. As you finish that exhale, go ahead and come back into a nice neutral back. And I'd like for you to lean your hips over to the left. I mean, lean them as far over as you can possibly lean them. Bend your right elbow. And then if you would like to extend this nice side body stretch over on the left side, especially in your left hip, then not only bend your right elbow, but peek down at your right foot. That kind of accentuates and extends the stretch. Awesome. We're going to come back up into center, nice and neutral. Recenter yourself a little bit here. And then we are going to lean our hips over to the right. You know, yoga teachers love symmetry. They like to balance things out. Bending your left elbow this time. And again, if you want to extend the stretch, go ahead and peek at your left foot. Oh, that feels so good. That really helps open up and stretch out the outer hips. So we're coming back up to center. And I would like for us to extend the right leg. Toes are on the mat behind you. And we're just letting our heel move toward the back. Just like letting it go backwards. So you should be getting a really nice calf stretch, which is so good because that is such a dense muscle. Oh my goodness gracious. Hard to get a good stretch there, but this helps you out. All right, we are going to slowly pivot our knee so that our left foot goes behind us. Our right foot is spinning so that the whole foot is on the ground. And we're just taking a nice big inhale, lifting up our right hand toward the ceiling. And if you would like to, while we're up here, if you want to let your hand move back behind you a little bit, so it's kind of like a little spinal twist. It's a good chest opener, a good shoulder opener. We're also exerting a little bit of energy here. And then slowly come back to that tabletop position. Awesome. We're going to take that to the other side. So it's our left leg stretching. Toes are on the ground, your heel pressing behind you. Good. Oh, that does feel so good. Especially if you're on your feet all day. It's just nice to stretch out the legs. We're about to stretch out a few more things, and then we'll kind of finish up with a restful pose and a little bit of a guided meditation. Perfect. All right, let's come back to a regular stance with the legs, so the heel's not pressing backward anymore. So I'm going to be facing away from you. We are pivoting our knee. We have our foot on the ground behind us, our long leg, our foot is spinning, so it's all the way on the ground, and we're inhaling up, left hand toward the ceiling. So I've been sitting on my blanket. I've got black yoga pants on. I may have cat fur on my pants at this point. It doesn't matter. And then again, you can either keep your hand directly above you, or if you want to, let your hand go past your body behind you to offer up a little bit of a chest opener, a little bit of the front of the shoulder opener, a little bit of a spinal twist here. Wonderful. Oh, that felt so good. So we're coming back into the tabletop position, and go ahead, tuck your toes and slowly walk your hands toward your knees here. So you'll notice I'm kind of hunched over a little bit. So if you happen to have plantar fasciitis, you might want to be careful with this. You might want to keep your fingers on the mat because you don't have as much weight on your heels. But if you feel good with this, or even if you do have plantar fasciitis, maybe try it out and see where your comfort zone is. But walk your hands a little bit closer to your knees, maybe up onto your knees, or maybe just let your spine be nice and tall and just see how that feels for you. Always adjust, pay attention to your arches of your feet. We're stretching them out. But sometimes if you happen to have plantar fasciitis on the bottom of your foot, that doesn't always feel very good. So just listen to your body. All right, hands come down, flatten out your feet, and then go right back down, sending your hips down towards your heels. So you'll notice my hands are now going behind me. And with this, you can see if you can walk your hands all the way to where they're on the floor. You can bend your elbows if you would like. And so we're getting a little bit of a stretch on the front of the thighs. And if you would like, you can even see if you can lift up your knees. And that's giving you a really nice stretch. I bet you feel it on the front of your ankles down into the top of your feet. I love to focus on feet. It's so important. All right, coming back into the tabletop position. If you would like a nice stretch on the low back, then keep your knees fairly close together like they probably are. But if you prefer a little bit of space for your belly, which I typically like to have space for my belly, then just widen out your knees the width of your mat. Your hips are sinking back down toward your heels. And we are in what I like to call baby frog pose. So just lean your shoulders toward the right. Maybe if you'd like to, you can dip your chin towards your chest a little bit. Shoulders starting to come back to center over to the left side. And if you want to get a little bit of a little, intuitive movement, a little bit of a swaying here, maybe think about an ocean wave, something like that. We're just getting a little bit of movement here before we take child's pose. So I do want to offer up a couple of things you can do with child's pose. So while you're still with your hands on the mat and your upper body up, just consider a couple of things here. You can let your hands go nice and long away from you with your forehead on the mat. But if you prefer to have your head off of the floor or off of the mat, then maybe bend your elbows, stack your fist, and place your forehead on top of your fist. And I'll be honest with you, I love doing that because to me, I can really focus on my neck, the back of my neck, releasing on the exhales, because we'll be here for a few breaths and it feels so good. So that's my current preference. I kind of rotate through what I like. So let's go ahead and make your way to whatever position you want your arms and your hands to be in. We're going to hang out here for maybe 3 good breaths. Really breathe deeply, feel your belly pressing into your thighs, or maybe to the sides of your thighs if you've got your knees spread apart. You might notice your arms kind of feeling as though they're moving outward as you take your inhale. And maybe on your last round of breath here, if you feel like opening your mouth and sighing out your breath, go ahead and do that. It feels really good. And then slowly come back up. And we're going to make our way to a seated position. So I mentioned, a strap, I mentioned some blocks. So if you happen to have your blocks handy, I just want to offer up something. I like to do something called fish pose. You can do it in various ways, but one way that involves using blocks, it makes it quick and easy and simple, is to have kind of like a upside down T shape. So this is where your shoulder blades will go. This is where your head will go. But of course, you'll have to lift the block up a little bit because your head is not directly on top of your shoulder blades. So it kind of looks more like this. I'll show that to you just in case you happen to have blocks at home. Or if you're watching this on a recording and you've gone and you've gotten blocks, they're easy enough to find at Walmart, Target, Amazon, TJ Maxx. Every place has them these days. So you'll notice I'm lowering down and I'm just making sure my shoulder blades are going to be resting on the block. And if they are not, you just simply maneuver it a little bit, like I just did. Oh, that's much better. Head coming down onto the block at the top. And then you just let your arms come out wide. Oh my gosh, this feels so good. It's a nice shoulder opener, a good chest opener. You can let your feet be on the ground with your knees up. You could go into butterfly legs with the soles of your feet touching and your knees out wide. Or you could just straighten out your legs and maybe even cross your ankles if you would like. Now, if you don't have blocks, then you can just let your back come all the way down onto the mat. If you do have that blanket nearby, you can have it underneath your head, or you can wrap up in it if it happens to be a cooler evening where you are. So make any adjustments that you might need to make. Maybe take one breath and kind of get a feel for things, make adjustments. And I'd like for you to start settling in for a little bit of breath work, a little bit of guided meditation as we finish out our practice tonight. So I would like for us to work on a type of breath work where we inhale a certain amount of time, and then we exhale a little bit longer than the inhale. It's a great way to calm your nervous system. It's great for after a long day at work. It's great for if you are getting stressed at work. You can take a little break to do this. Just step into the bathroom and do this for yourself. So let's go ahead and press any air that might be in our lungs out, just like we did at the very, very beginning of the session. And then inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. One more. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you'd like to continue that 1 or 2 breaths, be my guest. It feels really nice. Maybe practice it on your own. Get used to that pattern. The idea, the concept of exhaling a little bit longer than your inhale. Maybe one more like that. And then just come into whatever pattern of breathing you would like to do. Maybe a little bit deeper than your usual breath. And your next inhale, I'd like for you to imagine lightness, like airiness, light as a feather, kind of drifting on clouds as you inhale. Exhale and just feel your body grounding down a little bit more, feeling the mat or the floor underneath you. Inhaling again. Maybe you might almost feel as if your body's lifting up a little bit. You might feel your shirt hanging down on beneath your back. Exhale down, grounding back in. Maybe feeling as though you're making an indentation on your mat or on your rug. And let's do one more of those breaths. Imagining lightness on the inhale and a little heaviness, a little grounding on the exhale. And then take what time you need, maybe an extra breath if you would like, and then slowly start to make your way back to a seated position. Maybe letting your chin tilt down a little bit, maybe soften your gaze, or close your eyelids all the way if you would like. And I'd like for you to slowly make your way with your hands to heart center. So they're just pressing nice and firmly together. You could have your elbows a little bit down, or you could have them nice and level with your hands. Either way is fine. Thumb pressing into your breastplate. And I'd like for you to say to yourself, may I be happy.
May I be happy.
May I be healthy.
May I be healthy.
And may I be free from fear and worry.
Free from fear and worry.
Wonderful. We're taking one more breath, letting our hands move upward toward the ceiling, still pressed together. And then exhale them right back down to your breastplate, right there at heart center. Wonderful. The light in me
The light
honors the light in you.
honors the light in me.
Namaste.
Namaste.
Awesome. Ooh, that feels great.
I really enjoyed that.
I am so glad. That's what I love doing, is just sharing my love of yoga to anybody and everybody. It's a wonderful practice. This was a nice, soothing experience. Of course, there's all kinds of different yoga that you can do, but I really like that nice, gentle unwinding at night.
Yeah, I almost fell asleep. So it was perfect.
I have actually done that before with a nice supported pose, like on blocks or on pillows. I actually have done that.
Mhm.
It's nice. You just wake up. It's like, oh, I feel so refreshed.
Awesome. Well, Stephanie, tell everyone how they can contact you, get a hold of you, how they can support you.
Absolutely. So if you are in need of a little bit more yoga in your life, various types, whether it's what we just experienced or whether it's more active, I love to walk people through poses, no matter what their experience level, no matter what their age. I tend to work with women in their 40s and 50s and 60s. I'm in my 50s myself. You probably figured that out because I mentioned I was retired from teaching. But you can reach me at Stephanie-Fowler.com, and that's my website. And you can also find me on Women Aging Awesomely pretty much anywhere. I have a Facebook page, Women Aging Awesomely. I have an Instagram account, Women Aging Awesomely. And I have a podcast, and you guessed it, it's Women Aging Awesomely. So yeah, that's how you can reach me. And I would love to have you, join in on any discussions on Instagram, on the posts that you see, or the Facebook page, so forth and so on.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Let me
Well,
go ahead and stop the recording. And